What if the gospel world wasn't as humble and holy behind the curtain as it looked on stage? Picture this. The same legends who lifted your soul with heavenly music were also known for tempers that could shake a room. They preached grace, sang about love, and inspired millions, yet many carried an attitude that made people step back the moment they walked in. Some demanded special treatment, others refused to work with lesser talent, and a few believed the spotlight belonged to them alone. Get ready, because you're about to uncover the 20 gospel stars whose arrogance became just as unforgettable as their voices. 20. CeCe Winans. When people talk about gospel royalty, CeCe Winans always comes up first. Her voice feels soft, warm, and comforting, but her presence has always been strong enough to fill any room long before she even opens her mouth. Over the years, fans and insiders have said that CeCe carries herself like she's on a higher level, moving with so much calm confidence that some people read it as pure arrogance. It wasn't loud or dramatic, but more like a quiet wall around her that made others feel she was too guarded, too distant, or simply too above everyone else in the room. Part of this comes from her long success. When you reach a level where your name alone commands respect, people start assuming you see yourself differently. And with CeCe, her spotless image, polished public behavior, and carefully controlled interviews made it easy for critics to say she acted untouchable. Even backstage stories mention how she kept a tight circle and rarely interacted casually with other artists unless something was scheduled. Still, that same confidence is what helped her survive a tough industry for decades. She understood her worth, protected her space, and refused to be pulled into drama. But for many around her, that powerful distance became the reason they labeled her as one of the most quietly arrogant gospel legends of all time. 19. Karen Clark Sheard. Karen Clark Sheard has one of the strongest, sharpest, and most influential voices gospel music has ever heard. When she steps on a stage, the entire atmosphere changes. That kind of talent naturally creates a sense of power, and Karen has always carried herself like a woman who knows exactly what she brings to the table. But over the years, that confidence sometimes turned into a reputation for being intimidating, strict, and even a little arrogant. People who worked with her often described her as a perfectionist who didn't like settling for good enough. Her standards were sky high, whether she was rehearsing with singers, recording in the studio, or preparing for a performance with her family group. And when someone failed to match her energy, she didn't hesitate to let them know. That fire made her a legend, but it also made some people think she acted like she was bigger than everyone else. Karen's intensity wasn't loud or messy. It was more like a sharp edge beneath her elegance. She moved with purpose, spoke with authority, and didn't smile unless something truly deserved a smile. Some said she carried herself like gospel royalty. Others said she acted like she ruled the entire genre. But one thing is clear. Her presence was powerful enough to make even other stars step carefully around her. 18. Rance Allen. Rance Allen was known for a voice so powerful that it almost didn't seem human. When he opened his mouth, people stopped breathing for a moment. His range, his control, and his signature screaming runs made him one of the most respected gospel legends of all time. But that same power often came with a level of confidence that many around him described as arrogance. Rance walked into a space like he already owned it. He carried himself like a man who knew he was special, and he didn't soften that energy for anyone. Behind the scenes, musicians talked about how Rance demanded excellence from every person around him. If the band wasn't tight, he said it. If the background singers weren't strong enough, he made sure they heard it. He didn't raise his voice, but he didn't hide his standards either. Some people admired this focus. Others felt he acted like the whole room should revolve around him. Rance also had a habit of taking up space during group performances, hitting high notes that pulled attention straight toward him. Fans loved it, but fellow singers sometimes felt pushed aside. Over time, whispers began. He was too commanding, too proud, too used to being the main attraction. Whether fair or not, his name became tied to a certain level of gospel world arrogance that only a star of his size could carry. 17. Jonathan McReynolds. Jonathan McReynolds entered gospel music with a clean, polished style that felt new and refreshing. His soft voice, thoughtful writing, and calm personality made him stand out immediately. But as his fame grew, so did the idea that he saw himself as separate from other artists. Some insiders said Jonathan carried a too perfect vibe, almost like he didn't want to be touched by the normal chaos of the gospel world. People who worked with him often explained that Jonathan kept strict boundaries, guarded privacy, and stayed away from environments that felt messy or unprofessional. While many artists would hang around backstage, he preferred staying in his own space, keeping conversations short and controlled. This made some people feel like he believed he was above everyone else. Fans noticed the same thing on social media. Jonathan often posted deep, polished messages instead of casual, friendly updates, creating a distance between himself and his audience. That clean, intentional image sometimes made him look cold or overly proud. Industry insiders even joked that he was too perfect to be real. Jonathan's talent has never been questioned. His songwriting changed modern gospel. But that quiet, controlled personality, mixed with his rising success, turned him into one of the smoothest, yet most quietly arrogant stars of his generation, at least in the eyes of those who expected him to be more open, messy, or accessible. 16. Charles Jenkins. Charles Jenkins rose to fame with powerful songs and the presence of a man who knew exactly where he stood. His voice carried strength, and his leadership style was even stronger. But as his influence grew, people around him started saying he carried himself with too much pride. He walked into rooms expecting respect, attention, and obedience, and when he didn't receive it, the shift in his mood was obvious. Behind closed doors, Charles was known for being direct, demanding, and sometimes dismissive. Band members and singers talked about his high expectations and his tendency to speak sharply when things didn't go his way. On top of that, his pastoral authority added another layer of power, making him appear even more controlling. Then came the scandals that shook his reputation. Instead of humbling him, these moments made him even more guarded and selective with the people he let near him. That distance increased the perception of arrogance. Some felt he operated as his title gave him automatic superiority. Others believed he used confidence as armor to protect himself from rumors and drama. No matter how the stories are told, Charles Jenkins became known not only for his music and leadership, but also for the strong, intimidating personality that made him one of the most talked-about gospel figures with an unmistakably arrogant edge. 15. J. Moss. J. Moss has always been one of the most gifted producers and singers in gospel music. His creativity is unmatched, and his ear for harmony is sharp enough to shape an entire generation. But along with that brilliance came a confidence so strong that it often crossed into pure arrogance. In the studio, J. Moss was known for taking total control. If a singer couldn't match his vision, he didn't hide his irritation. He expected excellence, and he didn't sugarcoat his opinions. Artists who worked with him described him as a perfectionist who didn't like being questioned. He moved fast, thought faster, and didn't slow down for anyone struggling to keep up. Some admired his drive. Others said he acted like he was the smartest person in every room. J. Moss also carried himself with a quiet distance. He wasn't the type to blend in or socialize lightly. When he spoke with authority, and when he disagreed, the entire atmosphere shifted. His confidence was almost a signature trait, big, bold, and unapologetic. Over time, this attitude built a reputation around him. People respected him deeply, but many also whispered about his ego and how difficult it could be working under his expectations. His talent made him a legend, but his personality made him one of the most boldly arrogant voices behind the scenes of gospel music. 14. Byron Cage. Byron Cage earned his place in gospel history with powerful worship anthems and a stage presence that felt larger than life. He didn't just lead songs, he commanded entire atmospheres. But that same commanding spirit grew into a reputation for being demanding, sharp, and sometimes hard to deal with. People around him often said Byron acted like he controlled every environment he stepped into. In rehearsals, he expected singers to give more energy, more passion, and more discipline. If they didn't, he didn't hide his frustration. Musicians remembered moments when he corrected people in ways that felt more like a ruler than a leader. That bold push made him great, but it also made him appear egotistical. Byron also had a polished public image. He dressed like a star, spoke like a star, and walked like a man who viewed himself as the center of the moment. Fans loved the confidence. Critics saw it as arrogance. No matter how people interpreted it, Byron Cage built an image of a man who believed he was born to be in front, not behind. And that belief, strong, loud, and unshakable, cemented his place on the list of gospel legends known for carrying an undeniable, sometimes overwhelming, arrogant streak. 13. Bishop Paul S. Morton. Bishop Paul S. Morton carried himself like a man born to lead. His voice, his sermons, his influence, and his music gave him a level of respect very few gospel artists ever reached. But with that respect came a strong, commanding presence that many people described as intimidating or arrogant. He walked into every room like someone used to being obeyed. His words were firm, his opinions were final, and his expectations were high. People who worked under his leadership often talked about his no-nonsense style. If something wasn't excellent, he didn't hide his disappointment. If someone made a mistake, he didn't soften the truth. His goal was perfection, and nothing less impressed him. That strong push created powerful choirs and unforgettable music, but it also built a reputation around him as a man who didn't tolerate weakness or indecision. Behind the scenes, some singers and musicians felt pressured, almost like his presence alone forced them to stay on edge. He wasn't rude, but he was sharp, distant, and very selective. Many viewed this as confidence taken too far. His pastoral power added another layer, making him seem even more unreachable. Bishop Morton remains a respected legend, but the combination of leadership, authority, and strict expectations shaped an image that many interpreted as pure gospel world arrogance, wrapped in a calm but powerful voice. 12. Leandria Johnson. Leandria Johnson shook the gospel world from the moment she appeared. Her voice felt real, painful, soulful, and untouched by fake church polish. But along with that authenticity came a fiery personality that made her one of the most controversial and bold gospel stars of her generation. She spoke openly, sometimes harshly, and never tried to hide her feelings. This raw honesty led many people to label her as arrogant. Leandria didn't like playing by industry rules. She didn't pretend. She didn't fix her tone. She didn't sugarcoat anything for cameras or fans. If she felt something was wrong, she said it loudly. Some respected her bravery. Others felt she acted like she was above tradition, above criticism, and above correction. Behind the scenes, people talked about her mood swings, her demanding energy, and her refusal to be controlled. She carried herself like a woman who had survived too much to bow down to anyone. That strength made her unstoppable on stage, but it also made her look combative offstage. Her talent is undeniable, but her unfiltered personality turned her into one of the most talked-about gospel figures. Bold, brilliant, and often accused of having an arrogant edge that matched the power in her voice. 11. James Fortune. James Fortune built a successful career with his strong voice, emotional delivery, and high-energy leadership style. But behind all that success was a personality often described as controlling, intense, and hard to handle. People who worked with him described him as a man who wanted things done his way every time, and when someone didn't meet his expectations, the atmosphere shifted immediately. James had a habit of speaking with force. Even when he wasn't angry, his words sounded sharp, heavy, and final. This made some people feel like he didn't respect opposing opinions. In rehearsals, he expected perfection from singers and musicians. Anything less brought out a disappointed, impatient reaction that many people interpreted as arrogance. His public controversies added even more weight to this reputation. Instead of backing down, he often doubled down, keeping a firm, guarded posture that made him look even more unapproachable. Fans noticed how distant he became, choosing to speak in controlled, rehearsed messages instead of open conversation. Whether people loved him or disliked him, one thing remained the same. James Fortune carried a bold, dominating presence that looked like confidence to some and pure ego to others. That strong energy is the reason his name fits comfortably on any list of gospel stars known for their arrogant edges. 10. Fred Hammond. Fred Hammond is one of the greatest gospel producers and singers of all time. His talent shaped entire decades of music, and his ability to arrange harmonies made him a legend long before he reached his peak. But with greatness came a personality known for being demanding, serious, and extremely hard to please. Inside rehearsal rooms, Fred ran things with precision. He wanted every voice in place, every instrument controlled, and every moment executed with excellence. If someone missed a beat, he noticed. If a singer sounded weak, he stopped everything. That sharp leadership made him successful, but it also made people feel like he saw himself as the most important person in the room. Musicians talked about how intense he became when music wasn't up to standard. Even when he tried to stay calm, his frustration showed. Some artists admired his skill and discipline. Others said he acted like he alone understood real gospel music. Fred's perfectionism also created distance. He worked best in environments he controlled, and when things felt unorganized, his mood changed quickly. That strict, focused personality helped him build timeless songs, but also built a reputation for arrogance. Calm on the outside, demanding on the inside, and always expecting complete obedience to his creative vision. 9. Hezekiah Walker. Hezekiah Walker changed the sound of gospel choirs forever. His energetic style, sharp arrangements, and bold leadership pushed his choir to a level most groups could never reach. But with that leadership came a strong and sometimes intimidating personality. Hezekiah led like a general, firm voice, strict expectations, and no softness when things went wrong. People who worked with him said he didn't like excuses. If a singer was late, he addressed it. If someone forgot their part, he corrected them on the spot. His desire for excellence created powerful performances, but it also made some people feel judged or pressured, like they were constantly being watched. Hezekiah also carried a polished, confident style that made him look untouchable. He dressed well, spoke boldly, and moved like someone used to being respected everywhere he went. That confidence often crossed into the territory of arrogance, especially when he showed frustration during rehearsals or interviews. Even during collaborations, he liked things his way. His choir was his empire, and he didn't let anyone challenge his direction. This strong approach made him successful, but it also built a long-lasting reputation as one of gospel's most confident, demanding, and sometimes arrogant leaders. 8. Tina Campbell. Tina Campbell made her name with her powerful voice, fierce stage presence, and bold personality. But behind all the success came a fiery energy that many people labeled as arrogance. Tina didn't hide her emotions. She didn't soften her tone. She spoke with intensity that could shake a room, and she expected everyone around her to match her energy. This raw, unapologetic attitude made her unforgettable, but it also made her one of the most controversial gospel stars of her era. During rehearsals and performances, Tina pushed hard. She wanted every note strong, every harmony tight, and every move delivered with passion. When things didn't go as planned, her frustration showed immediately. Singers and musicians often felt like her expectations were impossible to meet. Her reality show appearances only magnified this image, showing a woman who didn't back down, didn't apologize easily, and didn't compromise. Even in interviews, Tina spoke with a confidence so bold that people often took it as ego. She believed in herself, believed in her calling, and believed she had the right to speak her mind. That strength became her signature, but it also created a long-lasting reputation for arrogance, fueled by strong emotions, high standards, and a personality that never toned itself down. 7. Erica Campbell. Erica Campbell built a career on talent, beauty, and a calm, polished voice that felt warm and comforting. But behind that gentle tone was a strong personality that many insiders described as controlling or prideful. Erica moved with quiet authority. She liked things done a certain way. She protected her image, controlled her environment, and didn't let just anyone get too close. People who worked with her said she carried herself with the confidence of someone who knew she was a star. She spoke softly, but her decisions were firm. When she didn't agree with something, she didn't raise her voice. She simply shut things down. That calm firmness made some people feel like she thought she was above criticism or correction. Her rise as a solo artist strengthened this perception. The styling, the interviews, the photo shoots, they all presented Erica as a polished, flawless brand. That level of control made her look distant at times, especially to those who expected her to be more open or relaxed. She wasn't rude, but she was selective, guarded, and deeply protective of her reputation. Over time, this quiet authority shaped her image. People respected her, admired her strength, and loved her music, but they also whispered about her ego. Her confidence, combined with her public success, placed her firmly on the list of gospel stars known for carrying themselves with an unmistakable air of arrogance. 6. Marvin Sapp. Marvin Sapp became a giant in gospel music through emotional songs, strong preaching, and undeniable leadership skills. But with that leadership came a presence that many people described as heavy, intense, and intimidating. Marvin expected excellence from everyone, and he didn't hide disappointment when things fell short. His voice alone carried authority, and his personality matched it. People who served under his ministry often said he had little patience for sloppy work. When something was unorganized, he pointed it out. When someone acted unprepared, he addressed it immediately. That direct style made him a powerful leader, but it also built a reputation for being arrogant and hard to work with. Marvin carried himself like a man who was always in control. He dressed sharply, spoke confidently, and made decisions boldly. In interviews, he never stumbled over words or second-guessed himself. That certainty, while admirable, made some people feel like he believed he was above them. His mix of preacher authority and musical influence only amplified this image. Marvin Sapp's confidence helped build a legacy of strong music and strong leadership, but it also created a long trail of stories describing him as one of the gospel world's most firm, demanding, and sometimes arrogant stars. 5. Kim Burrell. Kim Burrell is one of the most talented vocalists in gospel history. Her voice is unmatched, her technique is brilliant, and her stage presence is unforgettable. But along with that extraordinary talent came one of the strongest reputations for arrogance the genre has ever seen. Kim speaks boldly, corrects boldly, and carries herself with the confidence of someone who knows she is gifted on a level few can reach. Throughout her career, Kim has made headlines for sharp comments, tough criticism, and a straightforward personality that many people consider rude. She doesn't soften her delivery. She doesn't apologize for offending anyone. She believes in her skill and doesn't hide that pride for a moment. In rehearsals, Kim is known for being demanding and unfiltered. If someone is flat, she says it. If someone looks unprepared, she calls it out. Her expectation for excellence is sky high, and she rarely tolerates mistakes. This strong, unapologetic personality made her one of the most talked about gospel figures of all time. Some praise her honesty, others say she crosses the line. But no matter which side people fall on, Kim Burrell remains one of the boldest and most openly arrogant stars in gospel history. 4. Donnie McClurkin. Donnie McClurkin built his career on emotional singing, powerful preaching, and an outspoken personality that demanded attention. But with that boldness came a reputation for arrogance that followed him for years. Donnie never had trouble speaking his mind. Even when the world disagreed, he stayed firm. His strong opinions made him influential, but they also made him controversial. People who worked with Donnie often described him as intense and commanding. He wanted things done correctly, and he didn't hesitate to point out flaws. His preacher background made his tone firm, even when he wasn't upset. This created an intimidating environment for singers, musicians, and staff who struggled to keep up. Donnie also carried himself with confidence off stage. He dressed sharply, walked boldly, and spoke with authority. His interviews often sounded like sermons, full of certainty and direction. That certainty, while inspiring to many, looked like arrogance to others. No matter the criticism, Donnie continued moving with strong conviction. His confidence helped him reach incredible success, but it also made him a central figure in conversations about ego in the gospel world. 3. Tasha Cobbs Leonard. Tasha Cobbs Leonard rose to the top of gospel music with stunning vocals and worship anthems that touched millions. But with fame came a powerful presence that many people interpreted as arrogance. Tasha carried herself like someone who understood her worth deeply. She moved with calm authority, spoke with confidence, and protected her space strongly. People around her often mentioned her strict boundaries. Tasha didn't let everyone into her circle, and she kept her environment controlled and intentional. This made some feel like she was distant or hard to approach. Her rise to mainstream popularity only strengthened this image. In rehearsals, Tasha expected professionalism. She wanted excellence from musicians, background singers, and production team. When things weren't right, she addressed them immediately. That level of control created amazing performances but also shaped a reputation for being demanding. Her confident posture, polished style, and quiet seriousness made her stand out. Fans loved her, but critics often described her as having a heavy ego beneath the calm exterior. Whether true or exaggerated, her presence earned her a place among gospel legends known for holding their heads high, sometimes too high, for the comfort of others. 2. Yolanda Adams. Yolanda Adams built a career on elegance, class, and smooth, powerful vocals. But with all that beauty and discipline came a personality many insiders described as distant, selective, and sometimes overly proud. Yolanda moved like a queen. She walked with grace, spoke with poise, and kept a level of control that made her appear unreachable. Her image was flawless for decades. That kind of perfection created a divide between her and the people around her. Choir directors, musicians, and even fellow artists sometimes felt she held herself above the rest. She valued professionalism deeply, and when someone didn't match her standard, she didn't hide her disappointment. Backstage stories often mention Yolanda's quiet but firm attitude. She didn't raise her voice, but her expression alone told people everything they needed to know. Her confidence became her armor, and her composure became her trademark. But that same control also built a reputation for arrogance that followed her throughout her career. Yolanda Adams remains a legend, but her polished, untouchable aura made her one of the most confidently intimidating figures in gospel music. 1. Kirk Franklin. Kirk Franklin changed the entire direction of gospel music. His creativity, energy, and leadership reshaped the sound of the genre forever. But with that groundbreaking success came a level of confidence so big that many people labeled him as arrogant. Kirk walked like a star, talked like a star, and expected excellence from everyone around him. In the studio, Kirk commanded the room. He gave orders fast, corrected mistakes sharply, and pushed musicians to their limit. His passion often came out as intensity, and his intensity came out as ego. People who couldn't keep up felt overwhelmed by his drive. Kirk also carried himself with bold charisma. He loved the spotlight, loved the attention, and knew exactly how powerful his influence was. That made him magnetic, but it also made him a target for criticism. Every strong moment was called ego. Every confident comment was labeled arrogance. Even with controversies, Kirk never backed down from his personality. His confidence built his career, and his ego became part of his brand. Whether admired or criticized, Kirk Franklin stands as one of the most boldly self-assured gospel legends of all time. In the end, these gospel legends proved that even the brightest voices can cast long shadows when pride takes over. Their talent shook the world, but their attitude stirred up stories people still whisper about today. And now that you've seen just how wild things could get behind the music, it makes you wonder how much more has the gospel world kept tucked away from the spotlight. If you're curious about the untold drama, hidden personalities, and secret histories of your favorite stars, don't stop here. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive. Ready for the next shocking truth? It's only one click away.